Hey, look out. It's Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
What a pleasure to have Nicole Hunt back with us. She is an attorney and life issues analyst for Focus on the Family. I think, well, first of all, welcome, Nicole. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
Good to talk to you. I can't remember, did we have you on before Roe v. Wade was overturned? I think we did, didn't we?
We did, yep.
Yeah, so we wanted to catch up with you. We were just overjoyed. We knew it was coming. We didn't quite know when, right? And then on June the 24th, Friday, I thought it had been 2 weeks. It's not even been 2 weeks yet, has it?
Just over 1 week right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when it happened, we were very delighted. But as I mentioned before we went live with you, I don't, maybe I was just naive. But it has just gotten brutal. It's gotten ugly. And here we are. It is overturned. Now states are making the decision for themselves. We wanted to check in with you to find out, what do we do from here? It looks good for Georgia. It looks like things are going to be just progress for us, pro-life folks that believe in pro-life and stand for it. But states that they're kind of cloudy on this issue. What's going on your end?
Yeah, so the landscape really is, and we knew this before Roe was overturned, that there were 26 states that were likely to or planning on supporting life and protecting life under state law. That means that there are 24 other states that either protect abortion under state statute, under their state constitution, or by practice. And so what we're seeing play out now is we're seeing the abortion industry legal team at work challenging laws in many pro-life states.
Yeah.
Of course, everything is fluid at the state level, right? It depends on who's in office. If a pro-abortion state were to turn to the right and start to adopt more pro-life policies, or even put more pro-life legislators into office, things could change, and they could change as quickly as one legislative session. So really,
Wow.
everything is very fluid at the state level right now.
As Rick mentioned, it's just gotten so vitriolic on the other side, it seems like.
Yeah.
And it seems like a lot of misinformation coming out as well. Talk about some of the things that people on the left are saying about what this means, and just the untruths that are there.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I've heard a lot is that if the life of a mother is threatened, that she's not going to be able to get an abortion. That's just not true. Almost all of these, in fact, I believe it is every single one of these states who have a pre-Roe ban or a trigger law in place that would protect life, all include exceptions for the life of the mother. And another example that I've heard thrown out there by the left as a scare tactic is to say women who have ectopic pregnancies. Now, an ectopic pregnancy is a pregnancy where the egg becomes fertilized, but instead of making it out of the fallopian tube and implanting in the uterus, it actually implants in the fallopian tube. Well, that is a threat to the life of the mother. A baby can't grow inside of the woman's fallopian tube. And even if it did start to grow, eventually that woman's life would be threatened, because a baby can't continue to grow there and a woman can't sustain life in her fallopian tube. So that is another example, ectopic pregnancies, that would threaten the life of the mother. And she would be able to go in and have that pregnancy removed, because there's no way that the baby could survive living in that part of her body. So these are some of the arguments, really scare tactics and fear mongering, that the left is propagating to scare people to think that they can't save their life if their life is being threatened when they become pregnant.
Nicole Hunt with us, attorney and life issues analyst for Focus on the Family. And I know you guys thought this through before everything was about to happen. I think some of this too is that folks deciding that their city or their state is going to go ahead and go with abortion, and then folks from other states can travel there. It's just gotten ugly and scary. And is it more scary than you thought, or is this like, well, yeah, we pretty much thought this is the way it would go?
You know, I think when we really started to see, you see just how violent the left can be, was after Roe's majority opinion came out, and you
Yeah.
saw all of the violence
Yeah.
against pregnancy resource centers
Yeah.
and against pro-life members of Congress and legislators, other pro-life organizations. I mean, just here in Colorado, where women could get an abortion up until the moment before birth, and there
Hmm.
are no restrictions in place, and now it's protected by statute. Even here, where Roe v. Wade doesn't touch our state law, the day after Roe v. Wade was overturned, there was a crisis pregnancy center that was attacked in Longmont, Colorado. It was vandalized and it was firebombed. And it's like the nonsense that the left is using to try to rule the day. They are encouraging that the Supreme Court law be completely, ignored. They're suggesting, in fact, even pro-life. This is interesting because this is members of the politicians who are elected. There are some attorney generals who are saying they're simply not going to enforce the pro-life laws of their state. So I think the people really need to hold all of these groups accountable. The Department of Justice and the FBI, they need to investigate and prosecute criminals who are perpetrating violent acts as a response to Roe v. Wade being overturned. And then if there are attorney generals in office who are refusing to enforce the law of the land or the law of the state, well, the people need to hold those elected officials accountable, and they need to get them out of the office and elect someone who will enforce the law.
And since all this has come about, the focus of the fight against abortion has obviously now turned from the federal level, but it's not over yet. There's still a fight there, right, Nicole? Where do we go now?
Absolutely. And it's really a multifaceted fight. Here's the truth. A lot of it's going to happen at the state level, but there actually is still things that can happen at the federal level. So we also need to keep our eyes looking to who we're putting into office, who we're electing into Congress and the Senate at the federal level. At the federal level, there could be a couple of things that could happen. The Senate and the House could actually pass legislation that could restrict certain things. For instance, mail order abortion drugs is kind of the next legal battleground where we might see some states are starting to ban it. Others that are pro-abortion want to be able to ship their abortion medicine into states that are restricting it. And so we have some interstate commerce at play here between the states. This is something that Congress could look to ban or prohibit, or at least to restrict and say that each state must respect the other state's laws. That's a potential act that Congress could take. Now, we've also seen this last legislative session that Congress tried to protect abortion under federal statute. They weren't able to do it because they didn't have enough votes, but that is something that we might continue to see the left do. If they get enough votes in the Senate, all they need to do is get enough to vote down the filibuster or the cloture vote, which would require 60 votes. But if they decided to do that, which is something that would really cross a line, but if they did decide to do that, they might have enough votes to go ahead and pass a federal statute that would protect abortion. God forbid that would happen. And then something else we might see happen at the federal level would also include the states. But what we might see, or is a possibility, is a constitutional amendment. And now that could go either way. We could see the pro-abortion lawmakers try to get a constitutional amendment that protects abortion. Of course, we would need a very large majority. 38 states would have to ratify a constitutional amendment. So at this point, we don't have enough consensus either way. As I mentioned, the divide right now is about 26 to 24 among the states on their position on abortion. So they don't have enough votes right now, but listeners should know that is a possibility moving forward if ever there was enough consensus. So those are kind of the things that could happen federally. And then, of course, right now we've got 12 states who have moved to protect life. So there are 12 states in the country where either a pre-Roe abortion ban has been triggered and put into place, or even states where pro-life laws that were being under injunctions by state courts, those injunctions have been lifted, and so they also are able to have their state laws that protect life in place. So I think over the next month or so, we're going to see that number increase. As like I said, as many as 26 states are prepared to protect life, but we will see Planned Parenthood and ACLU continue to sue the states who put these pro-life laws in place. And what we're seeing them challenged by state statute and by state constitution.
Wow, fascinating. Nicole Hunt, attorney and life issues analyst for Focus on the Family. I mean, some of this information I've not heard before. So thank you so much for letting us in on this. And so it is so important for us to vote when it comes time to vote,
Mhm.
and vote pro-life,
Mhm.
because on some levels this could be switched, not on the federal level, as you mentioned, unless what you said, the Senate, if the Senate were ruled by the left, it could be.
Yeah, so if they had enough votes to get rid of the filibuster,
Uh-huh.
then and that's what happened last time is they weren't able to overcome the filibuster rule, the vote of cloture, which
Yeah,
requires 60 votes.
right.
And so because they weren't able to do that, they couldn't vote on the abortion bill that was brought before the Senate. They just, landed in debate and couldn't vote on it. But it is a possibility. And we should also keep in mind that and the left has already started talking about it. They've also started talking about packing the court again. So
Mhm.
these are things that we might see happen if the left puts their pro-abortion lawmakers into place. So we need to, as pro-life members of the community, we need to stay engaged politically, because the truth is what happened when Roe v. Wade was overturned is it took abortion policymaking out of the court, rightly so, because the truth is the Constitution has delineates three separate powers branches within the government, right? We have the legislative, who they make all the policy, the judicial, they interpret the law, and then the executive, they enforce the law. The judiciary stepped out of its boundary when it started making abortion policy. So what it did was it rightly restored that power to the people and their elected representatives. So the truth is that abortion policy from here on out, we have 50 fronts, and there are fronts of every battlefronts in every single state. And then we also have the federal. And so we need to keep our eyes on who we're electing into office, because those individuals are going to set the policy for our state. And we need to make sure that we're voting people in who are pro-life.
Yeah, yeah.
Not
Nicole.
only a legal battle, but a spiritual battle as well.
Yeah.
Definitely prayer. We need to be in prayer about this for sure.
Well, honestly, I mean, I was shocked because protesters were showing up at the justices' homes and being
Mhm.
as belligerent and attacking them as they were. And I thought, my gracious, it's almost like the cage has been rattled,
Mhm.
the hive has been shaken, and this is just ugly. Nicole, I'm so glad you're on our side. I really, really am.
Yeah.
You're amazing. We'd love to catch up with you in a few months to see where we are. We'll be farther in this whole thing. So I think Dan put the website
Oh,
up
yeah.
there. Was it FOTF.org?
FOTF.
Focus on the Family is a great place to go to. Thank you for all that you do. Blessings. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.